give you some tips on how to shoot an LCP or Kel-Tec style pistol really well. They have their own special quirks, so they're kind of hard to shoot. And as a revolver shooter, I kind of think that I have a little bit of an advantage, because your typical pistol grip, which uses this type of hold, is very difficult to use on something like an LCP, and the revolver thumb over thumb grip does seem to work really well for an LCP or Kel-Tec style pistol. So there's a little bit of quirks here, but I'm going to show you what I do and how I shoot it well. And I have not fired this gun in 4 months, so the first shots I'm going to take are, first in 4 months, Scout's honor. So I'm going to give you all my little tips and tricks I use, and they're kind of specific. Now the first thing is, I'm going to unload this here. They're kind of challenging to rack around in. Someone like me, it's not a big deal just to pull the back, but for a lot of people, including small women, it's kind of hard to pull this back. I've seen people with these issues where it's just there's not enough strength to pull it back. And going up here doesn't necessarily work, or going just back here over the top. But I found that the best way to do it is to put your 4 index fingers across the top evenly, and then grab the back with your thumb and kind of curl your pinky right here like this, and then push the gun in with your right hand, but at like a 45-degree angle. So rather than going forward, kind of like you're trying to go over like this type of a motion with your fingers fully spread out. And I've noticed that that takes a little bit less force to rack around in. So that's what I do to rack around in if I'm feeling weak that day or something of that nature, and it works really well. Now this gun is unloaded. I'm going to dry fire this. Now these type of guns are not double action. I know a lot of people refer to them as double action because the trigger pull is so hard. It's actually more of a single action. When you do pull the trigger, it does actuate the hammer back a little tiny bit before it pushes it forward. So it's kind of like in between a single action and a double action, but it's not a true double action because it doesn't fully actuate the hammer from start to finish. And before I get started, I'm just going to point out that I have large-ish hands. They're not gigantic, but they're about large. So we want to get our hand up as high on the grip as possible. And then what I do is I take sort of a revolver-style grip. I put my support hand as high as possible and come over the top, something like this. Now there's some very specific things that have to be thought of when you get this point. Now, with such a short grip, I put most of my force right here between my middle finger and the palm of my hand by my thumb. I grip it right there really, really tight. I don't put much grip on this finger right now. And then I wrap the thumbs, and after I wrap the thumbs, what I do is this very specific thing where you kind of push this thumb back while you're trying to counter that thumb coming back by pushing this one forward. So it's kind of something like this. I'll put my finger through the trigger guard because it works a little easier this way, but something like this where I'm trying to push back. At the same time, I'm trying to push forward with this one. And that stabilizes the gun really, really well. Now, when I put my finger on the trigger, I do about the first joint. That gives you a nice lock into the trigger so you're not slipping back and forth either way. And there's another thing to think about is when you pull the trigger, unlike a lot of guns that have a larger trigger guard, you're not pulling it just back. What you kind of want to do is keep your finger towards the bottom of the trigger guard and swoop it along the bottom. Because if you swoop it along the top, it's going to get in there and that will pinch you. So it's kind of this motion where you're trying to basically swoop it down. Something like this. So it's kind of a unique action because I'm trying to swoop down the trigger at the same time I'm trying to push this thumb out like this. And then we have the support thumb counteracting that thumb. And we just do a nice smooth follow through. So I got a target. It's about 6 yards from where I'm standing right now. And it's just a piece of wood with a little piece of tape on it. And we'll see what I can do with this. I haven't fired this gun in 4 months. Right from 6 yards. And we'll just do that technique, a nice smooth follow through. pulled one down just a little bit. I'll put a few more on that board. But like I said, I haven't fired a single shot until now in 4 months, so I need a little bit of practice. Now this one has the grip extension on this magazine, so this will help a little bit. But it's not really going to change anything about where I'm putting the force, so it'll just stabilize a little bit, but it won't necessarily increase my accuracy, but we'll try. All right, we got a couple of flyers, but overall I would say the grip is decent. We'll go up here 6 yards. And we got this up here and we got this one down here. However, this right here is pretty good for not firing in 4 months. We got about a 2-inch group right there from the LCP in 6 yards, which is 18 feet. Did a number on that pine board, 3/4 inch. So that's just how I shoot the LCP. It seems to work well for me, and it's a good little pistol. It did have a little bit of a hang up there, you saw, with even full metal jacket ammo, so it needs a little bit of polishing on the feed ramp, but overall it's a good pistol. And if you follow those tips to really anchor it in your hand really well, it shoots pretty good for what it is. All right, right out of the pocket, I have some 2x4s up there. Why not waste the rest of these ballistic testing 2x4s? From 9 yards, I'm just going to see if I can take them out with the 7 rounds that are in this gun. Let's try. After I put in hearing protection. Okay, here we go. So there it is, LCP. Grip technique works okay. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.